The world does not care for your intentions. It watches only what you do. And history remembers only what you build or destroy. To rule is to see the truth of this, not just once, in a burst of clarity, but again and again, as ritual, as survival. This is not a confession. This is an anatomy, a dissection of the architecture beneath peace, beneath justice, beneath the faces leaders wear, the truth behind the curtain, the machinery that turns with or without your belief. It begins with a question most will never ask aloud. Do you want to be loved, or do you want to be obeyed? Because the two are rarely found in the same room, and those who chase both often lose both. Power is not a gift. It is taken, shaped, defended. It is stolen from the soft hands of those who thought their good intentions would shield them. It is pried from the corpses of kings who trusted too easily, forgave too soon, or waited too long. To lead is to see the world not as it should be, but as it is a place of ambition wrapped in ceremony, a battlefield hidden inside parliament, a chessboard where loyalty is a tactic, not a virtue. And in this world, kindness without leverage is suicide. You may think you can inspire them, that your vision will rally their hearts. But hearts are fickle. They follow today and betray tomorrow. What lasts is fear, respect, control. Control not through violence alone, but through perception, through mystery, through the calm silence of a man who knows he cannot be broken. Be cold. Not cruel. Cold. The cold man does not act in anger. He does not punish out of pride. He does not confuse his emotions for his strategy. He watches. He calculates. He waits until the knife will strike not just the skin, but the soul. He knows that mercy without memory invites betrayal, that forgiveness without consequence breeds contempt, and that to command is not to plead. It is to make yourself the axis of the possible, the center of gravity around which all other wills must orbit willingly or not. This is not villainy, it is clarity. The lion does not apologize to the lamb. Do not mistake performance for principle. They will praise your authenticity as long as it suits them, but the moment your truth threatens their comfort, they will call you dangerous. They will speak of morality, of honor, of democratic virtue, but behind closed doors, they calculate their moves with the same cold arithmetic as you. The difference is, they lie about it. You will not. Be calculated. Every word you speak is a blade, every silence, a signal, every alliance, a temporary ceasefire. Use what they love against them. If they need freedom, give them the illusion of choice. If they need heroes, become one long enough to bind their trust. If they fear chaos, be the hand that holds the line, even if you set the fire that made the line necessary. Do not wait to be understood. Be too disciplined to need their approval. Be too useful to be ignored. And when you must betray, do so like a surgeon, swift, clean, necessary, not out of passion, out of design. Because loyalty is not a virtue. It is a transaction, and every transaction has a cost. When that cost rises beyond its value, the loyal become liabilities. So replace them before they rot. Test them before you trust them. Watch their eyes, not their words. Trust slow, strike fast. Let your enemies underestimate you. Let your allies overestimate their importance. The strong survive not because they feel no pain, but because they do not pause to seek permission to act. And when others cry out for justice, ask, justice for whom? Justice from whom? Most cries for justice are veiled grabs for power. See through the veil, know what you serve. Not the illusion of the people, not the purity of ideals, but the stability of order, the continuity of the state, the preservation of what you have seized. Be respected, because fear without respect breeds revolt, and love without fear breeds impunity. Respect is the synthesis. It is earned not by virtue, but by inevitability. You must become what cannot be replaced, cannot be removed, cannot be ignored. That is respect, not applause, not popularity, but permanence. They will not love you for this, but they will not dare to forget you. And in time, when the dust settles, they may even call you wise. But that is not your aim. Your aim is to endure, not in comfort, in command. Not through idealism, through insight. Not by chance, by choice. So choose. Be cold. Be calculated. Be respected. And let history write what it will. Power does not live in laws. It hides behind them. It does not wear uniforms. It wears faces, familiar ones, smiling ones. Power is not what they show you. It is what you do not see. The favor never asked for. The hesitation before a dissenting vote. The silence in a crowded room when a certain name is spoken. The geometry of control is quiet, efficient, invisible. It works best when it is mistaken for stability. Do not be the fire. Be the architect of the forest. Set the boundaries. Feed the roots. Decide where the next lightning will strike. They will ask you to be transparent. They do not mean it. Transparency is a weapon used against those foolish enough to provide it. The true ruler guards opacity like a fortress. You do not show the whole plan. You show just enough to be feared, trusted, or needed, depending on what the moment requires. The truth is a lever, and so is the lie. Each has its time. Each has its victim. Because people do not want truth. They want comfort. And when comfort is impossible, they want certainty. Give them certainty, even if it must be manufactured, especially when it must be manufactured. Manufacture the enemy if you must. No system survives without something to defend against. A ruler without a threat is a ruler without purpose. If the threat does not exist, create it. Name it, shape it, feed it just enough to justify your reach. Fear is not the absence of freedom. It is the precondition of unity. The more afraid they are, the more they cling to the hand that holds them still. This is not cynicism. This is design. The leader who denies this truth will be led by others less naive. Understand this. Your enemies will not rest. Your allies will not last. Your advisors will whisper loyalty while calculating leverage. Your friends will change the moment their proximity to you becomes dangerous. There is no final victory, only moments of silence between campaigns. So prepare always. Trust rarely. Act decisively. And never let the game move without you. Now listen carefully. There is a myth you must unlearn. The myth of the good leader. You've heard the story. That goodness, courage, humility, transparency, these are the pillars of leadership. But history, not fiction, is our tutor. And history does not speak in morals, it speaks in outcomes. The good leader is the one who survives, the one who outlasts, the one whose system does not collapse when the applause fades and the scandals rise. You must be what they need, not what they fantasize. Be the myth they pray for only long enough to become the figure they cannot escape. A tyrant wears his cruelty on his face. A master of state wears their hopes on his mask and his control beneath it. Let them believe you were reluctant. Let them think you inherited the burden. Let them tell each other that you never wanted this power, but carried it like a curse for their sake. That is the most effective illusion, the illusion of sacrifice. Because once they believe you have sacrificed for them, they will sacrifice for you. You do not need their eternal loyalty. You only need their obedience today. And tomorrow, you will win it again. That is the rhythm, the cycle, the war disguised as governance. You will not rule in peace. You will rule through peace. As an interval between threats, as a controlled environment. You will hold chaos behind a locked door and show them the key. reminding them always what it costs to turn it. This is your art, the art of control through balance, the edge of order and collapse. Too much order, they revolt. Too much chaos, they run. So you walk the line, not because it is noble, but because it is necessary. Now, understand the role of betrayal. Betrayal is not the exception. It is the rule concealed by politeness. Every system is a web of temporary agreements, and every agreement is made with the knowledge, spoken or unspoken, that it may be broken when the risk outweighs the benefit. So when you are betrayed, do not weep. Ask yourself, did I fail to anticipate? Did I fail to fear? Did I fail to strike first? Because betrayal is not always personal. Sometimes it is professional. A shift in alignment. A recalculation of interest. A natural consequence of power drifting from your hands to another's. If you rule, you will be betrayed. Your choice is only whether that betrayal will be endured or engineered. Let them think they have deceived you. Let them think they hold the advantage. Then, as they reach for your crown, let their fingers close around the blade instead. Let your vengeance not be loud, but permanent. They will write books about you if you succeed. They will condemn you if you fail. So do not measure your actions by how they will be judged. Measure them by whether they preserve your ability to act again. Your currency is not popularity, it is leverage. And leverage is not given, it is taken, built, hoarded, until the day comes when you can collapse your enemies without raising your voice. That is what it means to rule in the age of appearances. To wear civility like a cloak and wield necessity like a knife beneath it. So ask yourself, as every great ruler must, what are you willing to become to hold what you have built? Because they will come for you. The moment you falter, the moment you blink, they will come with laws, with mobs, with narratives, and knives. You must never blink. Be colder than the storm. Be more precise than the blade. Be more patient than their noise. And when the dust settles, remain. Every throne stands upon a stage. Every ruler, an actor. Every command, a performance. The mistake of the idealist is to imagine power as truth, something that can be revealed, naked and whole, before the eyes of the people. But the people do not want truth. They want spectacle. They want symbols. They want a story in which they are the righteous center, and you, their leader, are either the avatar of their pride or the scapegoat for their pain. This is the beginning of your next lesson. A ruler who neglects theater will be overthrown by those who master it. You must understand the audience. Not as individuals, but as a body, irrational, hungry, tribal, violent in its hopes and frightened of its freedom. They want to be free, yes, but only so long as someone else is responsible for what happens next. So give them that someone. Give them yourself, but only as an illusion. Because to truly rule, you must disappear behind the myth. What is a myth? It is not a lie. It is a truth elevated to control behavior. The myth is the ruler's most powerful weapon. Armies obey orders. The masses obey myths. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot silence every critic. But your myth can. Your myth will speak when you are silent. Your myth will rise when you fall. Your myth will endure long after your body has turned to dust. But myths do not write themselves. You must build it word by word, gesture by gesture. You must make yourself more than a man. You must become an idea. You were chosen, they must believe, not because you wanted power, but because you were born for it, called to it, forged in fire, shaped by fate. Let them invent your origin, feed them fragments, not facts. Let them argue over your motives. That uncertainty is strength. What they do not fully understand, they cannot fully destroy. This is the paradox of public power. The more visible you are, the more invisible you must become. Visible in form, in image, in voice, in ritual. Invisible in intention, untouchable in design. Be the mirror in which they see what they need, and the mask behind which you become what they fear. Let your every public act be choreographed. Your sorrow, your silence, your fury. They do not follow reason, they follow rhythm. So give them rhythm, ceremony, timing, orchestration. Repeat your virtues until they become their memory. Repeat your enemies until they become their nightmare. In this, you will govern not just with force, but with belief. And belief, once anchored, is harder to kill than any army. But know this, belief is not eternal. The myth must be maintained, and myths decay. Relevance is the ruler's daily war, and irrelevance is death. Your image will rot if it is not refreshed. Your authority will weaken if it is not challenged and then reaffirmed. So manufacture the trial, design the resurrection. Be defeated in public, once only to rise stronger. Let them see you bleed, but never break. This is not for your ego. This is for the theater. They must never grow too comfortable. Never believe they know you. Keep them guessing. Keep them watching. Keep them afraid. Because the moment they believe they could replace you, they will. Understand the crowd. It is not one beast. It is a storm made of many beasts. Some are hungry. Some are proud. Some are scared. You cannot feed them all. You cannot silence them all. But you can divide them. If they are united, they will turn against you. So never allow unity to last. Create factions. Elevate one. Threaten another. Let them struggle beneath you. Let them burn their energy on each other, not on you. This is the secret of every enduring state. Controlled division. Managed chaos. Channeled rage. Let them march. Let them shout. Let them scream. Then give them just enough to feel heard. Just enough to exhaust them. Never too much. Never enough to change the structure. The masses do not govern. They release pressure. You govern. Do not mistake cruelty for control. Violence must be rare and surgical. It must come not as outburst, but as lesson. Too much violence, and the people unite. Too little, and they forget who holds the leash. Strike once, hard, publicly, then disappear. Let the memory do the rest. Govern by presence, yes, but rule by absence. The fear of your return must do more than your presence ever could. That is the final layer of the myth, inevitability. You are not just the leader. You are the return. When things fall apart, they must imagine only one solution. You. In time, you will come to see that ruling is not a task. It is a condition. A condition of perpetual doubt, strategy, adaptation. Every hour, you will choose, bend or break. Every week, a friend will become a rival. Every year, a new threat will rise. And through it all, you must act, not with hope, with calculation. Not with virtue, with vision. Not as a man seeking justice, but as an intelligence shaping the future through necessity. You are not the moral center. You are the pivot, the spine, the knife, and the hand that wields it. So when they chant your name, smile. When they curse your name, smile. Both are music. Both are tools. Let them believe they are shaping the world. You know the truth. You shape the myth, and the myth shapes them. They do not tell you what power costs. They show you the throne. They do not show you the silence. They show you the ovation. They do not show you the eyes that no longer meet yours without calculation. Because at the summit of command, there is no companionship. Only proximity. Only usefulness. The closer you rise, the less you are known. Until even those who share your table speak to the mask, not the man. This is not failure. It is the nature of rule. To lead is to be alone. Not sometimes, not metaphorically. Completely. You cannot share your doubts. You cannot bleed where they can see. Every question you ask becomes a weapon in someone else's hand. Every confession becomes a crack in the myth you built. So you learn to hold everything inside. Your plans, your fears, your grief. Not because you are immune to pain, but because pain, shown in the wrong light, becomes weakness. And weakness invites predators. Even your allies. Especially your allies. There is no friendship in power, only shared interest. And when that interest fades, so does the bond. You may share victories with others, but you will shoulder defeats alone. You may trust, once, but you will not forget. Because the higher you climb, the more you see. The people who surround you do not see you. They see the shadow you cast, and they love what that shadow protects. But the man who casts it, he disappears. This is the true price of command, the erosion of the self. You become less human by necessity. Emotion becomes data. Intimacy becomes risk. Joy becomes distraction. You do not celebrate wins. You consolidate them. You do not mourn losses. You leverage them. There is no room for nostalgia. No place for innocence. Everything is currency or a threat. And so, to remain in power, you must trade warmth for control, empathy for insight, companionship for vigilance. They will say you changed. Let them. They will say power corrupted you. They are wrong. Power revealed you. It carved away the softness. It burned off the excess. It demanded clarity, and you delivered. What they call corruption, you call awareness. What they call cruelty, you call necessity. What they call paranoia, you call perception sharpened by survival. Because they do not live with targets drawn on their backs. They do not sit atop an empire waiting to be dismantled the moment you exhale. They do not understand the loneliness of permanence. The knowledge that every new ally is a future threat in waiting. That every moment of peace is a prelude to betrayal. And that the only true constant is you. So you learn to become your own counsel. You learn to look in the mirror and ask the questions no one else will dare to pose. You become the judge and the executioner of your own indulgences. You monitor your thoughts as a sovereign guards his borders. You cut out sentiment like a surgeon removes infection. You do not weep, you realign. You do not fall, you fracture silently, then reforge. Because there is no one to carry you. There is no safety net beneath the sovereign. You are the net. And if you collapse, so does everything you built. They will never understand the weight of choosing who lives and who does not. Of deciding what truths must be buried to protect the future, of watching good people fall for a system you had to preserve, because the alternative was worse. They will never understand the nights without sleep, not because of guilt, but because you are still calculating, still refining, still preparing for the next move in a game that does not end. And this, too, is leadership. Not glory, not inspiration, but endurance. So you harden. You learn to smile at funerals and kill with diplomacy. You learn to disguise warnings as compliments. You learn to isolate without alienating, command without raising your voice, eliminate without leaving a trace. You learn to disappear in plain sight. And when the weight becomes unbearable, you do not shed it. You carry it more quietly, because the cost of power is not that you become a tyrant. It is that you become a vault, Everything inside you must be locked away, so that the structure above can stand. They will call you cold. Let them. They will call you manipulative. Let them. They will say you feel nothing. Let them. You do feel, but you do not act on it. You do not show it. Because you understand that rule is not a right. It is a burden borne by those who can see clearly what must be done, and still do it. This is your inheritance. Not the crown, not the title, but the solitude, the awareness, the iron discipline to remain standing when others would have shattered. This is what separates a ruler from a man in costume. A ruler survives his own becoming. And if you must choose between being understood and being in command, choose command. Always. Let them misunderstand. Let them hate, envy, speculate. But never let them break the machinery. Be alone, be silent, be sovereign. Because in the end, there will be only one question. Did it endure? And if the answer is yes, that is enough. Power, in its rawest form, is temporary. Every regime ends. Every structure breaks. Every name fades. Unless you win the war that outlives you. The war beyond war. The war not of armies or decrees, but of memory, of myth, of time itself. You have learned to conquer men. Now you must learn to conquer history, because true rulers do not die. They transform. They become legend. They become caution. They become the lens through which future generations see the world, even if they never remember your face. This is your final battlefield, the war for legacy. But legacy is not reputation. Reputation is gossip. Legacy is design. You must build it as you built your influence. Not with sentiment, but with structure. Not with applause, but with architecture. Because one day, you will fall. By age, by force, by fate. The only question is, what remains? What does your name do after you're gone? Will it rot with the dead, whispered only by critics? Or will it govern in your absence? Will it haunt? Will it shape? Will it be feared not as a ghost, but as a principle that still commands? To achieve this, you must stop ruling for today. You must begin ruling for the century. This is the long game. Your strategies must outlive your body. Your systems must resist the decay of successors. Your enemies must fear you even in memorial. And to do that, you must turn your power into infrastructure. Not roads, not walls. Ideas. Embed your philosophy in law. Bury your logic in education. Bind your method into the very pulse of the system so that even those who despise you become carriers of your design. They may erase your statues. Let them. They may rename your buildings. Let them. As long as the mechanism remains. As long as the gears still turn in the shape you forged. As long as the conditions of power still whisper your name in the decisions others make. Then you have not died. You have transcended. There is one more truth you must accept. You will not be remembered as you were, only as you are needed to be. History is not written by the victors. It is rewritten by survivors. It is reshaped by those who follow, those who benefit, those who fear. So do not aim to be remembered accurately. Aim to be remembered usefully. Give them the pieces they can interpret. Leave the rest in silence. The best myths are incomplete. The best legends are questions. Let them argue about you for generations. Let them fight over what you meant. That is how you stay alive. Do not chase immortality. Design it. Make it inevitable. Not through your image, through your influence. Let your values infest the bones of the state. Let your doctrine become the instinct of those who will never know your name. They will call it tradition. They will call it wisdom. They will call it the way things are. They will not see your fingerprints, but they will live within your framework. And that is command beyond death. So this is the end of power's path, not in conquest, not in fear, not even in dominance, but in permanence. When your will has become invisible law, when your ghost moves through their institutions, when your mask outlives your face, this is the last domain of the ruler, to become necessary even in absence. Be forgotten but not escaped. Be buried but not disarmed. Be dead but still obeyed. This is the war beyond war, and it begins long before your ending. So ask yourself not what you can win, but what will remain. Not who will follow, but what they will be forced to repeat. Let your story become the structure. Let your method become the myth. Let your will become the weather, and they will build upon you or within you. Because in the end, there are only two kinds of rulers: those who are remembered, and those who are returned to even without knowing why. Be cold. Be calculated. Be respected. And when all else falls, remain. It ends, as all things do, not in fire, not in applause, but in silence. There will be a final order, a last decision. One more gesture performed for a people who never knew the true shape of your face. The curtains will close, the mask will fall, and in the stillness beyond power, you will finally be left alone truly. But this is not tragedy. This is conclusion. You were never meant to last. Only what you built was. They will not weep for you. They will not cheer. They will continue because you made that continuation possible. Your gift was not kindness. It was structure. A world that still holds, even without your hand to hold it. And this is rule in its final form. To vanish and yet be present. To die and yet determine. To fall and yet still be obeyed. Understand this. Legacy is not love. It is not justice. It is not vindication. It is gravity. The pull of your choices long after you are gone. The direction of others' actions, guided by the paths you forced into the soil. And that is enough. Let them curse you. Let them worship you. Let them rewrite you. None of it matters. What matters is that they cannot escape you. Because while they live inside what you made, you are not dead. You were never seeking immortality. You were ensuring continuity. You were never seeking praise. You were ensuring order. You were never seeking to be understood. You were ensuring that you could not be undone. So here, in the stillness beyond noise, say nothing. No final words. No revelations. Only the echo of command. The shape of structure. The cold, calculated, respected silence of a man who finished what he began. You were not good. You were not evil. You were necessary. And that is the only victory that matters. Be cold. Be calculated. Be respected. Be gone.